Imagine if the internet had no heads or trolls or clickbait. If people could make money on the internet by creating quality content and honest reporting, but not by being divisive or hyperbolic or sensational. Imagine if you could easily tell whether the content you see or read on the internet is reliable. And finally, imagine that all of this was available to you for free. Sounds impossible, right? If you think this can never become a reality, in this video I'll show you how it can be done. I will show you how we can redesign the internet for the 21st century. So let's look for a moment at our current situation. Just think about it. We live at a time when billions of people have access to an incredible amount of information. More information than at any time in human history. And it's all at our fingertips. In addition to that, we now have social networks with almost 2 billion active users. So it's now easier than ever to communicate with people from anywhere in the world. And yet our society is incredibly polarized. Our trust in institutions, and especially mass media, is at an all-time low. So we have so much information available to us, but we don't trust most of it. We can easily connect with people like never before in our history, and yet we have little faith in others. And our society is extremely divided. Now we can talk at length about why we have this crisis of trust, and in another video I'll show exactly why we're in this situation and what role the media plays in it. But now I will show you how we can fix this massive problem if we adopt a 21st century approach to the internet. If we adopt a 21st century approach to the internet, we can bring accountability to the marketplace of ideas. We can have a system that rewards real journalism and penalizes sensational, hyperbolic, and biased reporting. And we can finally have a reliable media that we can trust to report the facts. This new internet will not only bring accountability and restore our trust in traditional news media, but it will completely revolutionize how human knowledge is created, shared, and organized. We will finally be able to systematically organize all of human knowledge based on accurate and relevant information. So how would this new internet work? Well, suppose you go to a website and see an article that says a certain stock will go up. In today's media environment, you don't know if you can trust this article or not. On the new internet, however, you can simply check what is the credibility of the author on this issue, and what is his or her track record in making similar predictions. What's more, you'll be able to look through the article line by line and see how accurate are the claims the author is making. And based on that, decide if you trust the author's predictions or not. Now, how would this work? The new internet will have an interface where any person can highlight a sentence in an article, comment on its accuracy, and provide supportive evidence for their claim. Other people can comment on the article itself, but they can also comment on the comments of the article. So if one person comments that a particular sentence is incorrect or misleading, someone else can then highlight the sentences within the comment and point out any errors there, or provide more supportive evidence to those claims. Now, each of these commenters will also have a credibility score based on their own online history. The higher your credibility score, the more credence your comments get when you reply to an article. Also, the more you comment on articles and provide well-sourced information, the higher your credibility score will become. If you provide misleading information, on the other hand, your credibility score will suffer, and your comments will get less credence. Now, what you can immediately see is that the new internet brings accountability to the media, and also promotes informed debate. Because both the author's credibility score and the credibility score of commentators depends on how accurate they are with their statements, they have an incentive to state the facts and provide expert opinion. The result is that the quality of information is greatly improved, since each person has an incentive to be honest and provide informed opinions. What's more, trolls can't survive in the new internet, because the more they post misinformation, the more their credibility score suffers, and their exposure diminishes. Now, these internet tools are not limited to just news or opinion articles. You can apply the same system to books, scientific articles, even video or radio shows. In those instances, you have a transcript of what is said in the video or radio show, and people can comment on those. You can even apply the same system to live TV shows or cable news, so that people in the media are held accountable for what they're saying in real time. and a lot of these people are not going to be happy with the system. Now let's say some individual uses false or misleading information to promote his political views and gets a very low credibility score in this system. But instead of acknowledging his mistakes, he starts claiming that the people who programmed the new internet have some hidden agenda and that they're trying to suppress his political views. For that reason, the algorithms and tools of the new internet will be open source. The algorithms by which a person's credibility is determined will be known and transparent for everyone, and show that the only thing that matters for the system is whether the opinions the person presents are based on facts or not. This way, the system itself will have credibility, and no one will be able to claim that the system is suppressing their opinion. So far, I talked about how this new system facilitates informed debate and brings accountability to media. Great! But why should anyone in today's media care if some app or website gives it a low credibility score? After all, they don't get their paycheck from the app, they get it by generating ratings for their shows. The answer is that the new internet doesn't just provide a credibility score. It is in fact a revolutionary paradigm to create, share, and organize content. Think about it this way. Facebook has almost 2 billion active users, and Facebook's market cap is about $400 billion. Now, even though the users generate virtually all of the content, they get none of the company's money. Instead, Facebook gets to keep all of the money which they generate through advertising. The new internet will turn this business model on its head. With the new internet, users and content creators own their content and can make money from it. Now, how would this work? It's simple. In addition to credibility score, each user also has a performance score, which is based on the level of influence your content has. For example, suppose you write a science article about Pluto. People comment on that article, which gives it a certain credibility score. Now suppose another person writes an article about Pluto and cites your article. This immediately gives you some credit for the citation and the performance score. Now suppose some expert in the field of astrophysics cites the other person's article. Because of the expert, the second person will get high credit for the citation. But you will also get credit because the second person's article cited your article. By multiplying your credibility score by your performance score, you get a certain amount of what we'll call web coins. These web coins act as a virtual currency, much like Bitcoin, which you can exchange for real money. The only way to mine these web coins is by creating valuable quality content. If your credibility score falls, you'll get fewer web coins, which means that you'd want to keep your credibility score as high as possible, since this is how you generate your income. Since the person's income from the new internet is directly related to how much the person contributes to human knowledge, each person on this new internet has the incentive to be truthful and contribute as much as he or she can to human knowledge. On the new internet, all human knowledge will be interconnected and easily accessible based on any person's interests. It will also be easy to see in that system how credible any report and piece of media is. Finally, let's consider what would happen if someone tried to manipulate the system. Suppose you want to create a fake account with a high credibility score and a high performance score, and then either try to influence the media or just make a lot of money from the web coins you generate. What would stop someone from hacking the system like that? The answer is that your credibility score and your performance score are not just some numbers that are stored somewhere, and if you hack that place, you can change these numbers. No, your scores are actually generated like blockchains, from all the content you ever generated, and from how that content is interconnected with all the people who cited this content or commented on it, which means that it's simply impossible to produce a fake account. The only thing you can do is go through the work of actually generating content and having that content evaluated based on its accuracy. Now, it's important to mention that not all forms of speech and communication can be evaluated solely on truthfulness. There's a lot more to human communication. People can be cynical on what they write, they can be joking, and there could be a subtext to what the person is saying. But that doesn't mean that it's impossible to capture the meaning of whatever the person is trying to communicate. If a political article is satire, for example, the new internet can simply label it as satire, so it will have a credibility score in the genre of political satire rather than just in politics. Any article can have multiple labels, and in fact, sentences within articles can have multiple labels. The system will simply evaluate the credibility score and performance score for each person within each area of expertise. Then a cumulative score of web coins can be generated for the person to use as virtual currency. Another point is that, as you can see, the new internet is not based on pure ratings, but rather on credibility and expertise. This new paradigm, which works on a virtual currency, means that there's absolutely no need for advertising. It's an entirely self-sustaining, decentralized system that is not controlled by any individual, group, or corporation. Of course, information on the internet needs to be stored somewhere. So how can this system be self-sustaining if there is no advertisers? Who pays for the servers? The answer is that each person pays for server storage space for their content, and they pay for it with the web coins that their content generates. The amount they pay is based only on the storage space the content requires and the traffic that content generates. In other words, the cost is purely based on how much resources the content is using. This allows people to sensibly evaluate what content they want to put online. If some content has little value but millions of people watch it, that means that the person who produces the content is going to generate very little web coins. At the same time, he'll have to pay a lot for generating so much internet traffic. On the other hand, if a person posts content in some field, for example some discovering theoretical physics, and gets the attention of a few dozen experts in that field, that person will pay nearly nothing for the server space. But he can make quite a few web coins from that content. So as you can see, in the new internet, pure ratings have absolutely no value. The way to be successful is to produce quality content that enriches the human experience. So this is the 21st century approach to the internet. It brings accountability to the marketplace of ideas. It rewards real journalism and penalizes sensational, hyperbolic, and biased reporting. It creates a reliable media that we can trust to report the facts. And it revolutionizes how human knowledge is created, shared, and organized. It also restores our trust in each other and in the information around us. So billions of people can come together, connect with each other, and share their knowledge and experience. So who is going to create this new internet? The answer is all of us. This has to be an open platform that's available for everyone for free. And it can start simply by people coming together, even in the comment section of this video. So if you're in, comment below, subscribe to this channel, and together we can create the next information revolution.